Welcome to Pandora's box. Are you ready for the Kentucky Goblins? That was Stranglehold by Ted Nugent. I always think that's like one of like the coolest guitar songs. Like whenever I listen to that, I just imagine like driving like through like a sunset. You know, it's like the sun's going down, and you're like on like a highway or something.
You completed your mission.
Yeah, you completed your mission, and you're just like chilling, and you're just like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you guys ever heard at all about the Kentucky Goblins?
What?
Heard about the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
sure about the Goblins though.
That's
See, they're made by
a distant cousin. Oh, by the way, before we just get into it, do you want to give yourselves an alias today, Nathaniel?
Cup.
Cup, and Drew.
I'm going to be Armstrong.
Armstrong,
Like Armstrong, but with an M on the end instead of an NG.
and without the G. Yeah,
Without the G.
Armstrong, and Cup. Right, let's get into it then. So, the Kentucky Goblins. So we've got like a bit of a running theme here where we've sort of like unofficially decided that we're almost going to like kickstart every show with a little an alien story, different alien story.
We're like little.
Oh, this is another alien one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's called the Kentucky Goblins, but it's basically aliens.
Yeah.
Aliens, basically. It's
We're
all
like
about
alien hunters
Mate.
now, aren't we? We should make a documentary.
Yeah.
Fly out to Nevada.
the alien hunters. Yeah, we should get little suits and everything.
Because isn't it like UFO is like unidentified flying object? So is alien like? Does that mean like it's a similar thing? It can be anything, even if it's not an extraterrestrial. It's something that's alien.
Yeah, so
to...
like a UFO obviously wouldn't necessarily be an alien.
No.
It's just unidentified.
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
has to obviously be in the air. Whereas this was like, this has a UFO mixed into this story, and then there's like a specific story, and then there's like the wider tales.
Right.
The wider
Bit
tales.
of everything.
Yeah, so this is like, this is like, I only heard this, when was it? I researched it like last Wednesday, I believe. And I was like, it was like one of those stories, yet again, a little bit like the one I told you about, what's known as like the Welsh Roswell, which we talked about last week. I was like, how have I never heard this before? Because it seemed like a massive story, if you know what I mean,
right. When
I actually started looking into it. But the sort of like, the story kicks off with this in like 1955. So there was this like family that lived, really rural area of Kentucky, like right in the middle of the sticks. Like, their nearest neighbor was like a mile away or something like that. So they had some family to stay, and they were like having like a barbecue and stuff, and the family that came to like stay with them for a little while like lived more in like an urban part of Kentucky. And so they were all having a barbecue and chatting and everything, and everyone went inside. And one of the guys that was like staying with them, one of their family members, was just like out in the garden, and it was just like beyond the garden, it was all just like trees around, just like proper like lush, luscious naturey area,
naturey area.
And I think he went to relieve himself, was just like having a little cheeky wee.
Right.
Like out by the sort of by the barbecue, and he thought he could like see, and he could see like some strange lights in the sky. So this is where the UFO bit comes in. But he didn't necessarily even think it was a UFO. Apparently, he just thought it was like weird.
What the hell's those lights in the sky? Yeah.
So as he was doing this, anyway, like the person that owned the house, his like cousin or whoever it was, like called him in, and I was like, "What are you doing out there? Like, like come in the house."
Hey, Cletus, come on in the house.
Yeah. So we went in the house, and anyway, they sort of like started settling down for the night. But while that was like happening, and they was starting to get the kids settled to go to bed tonight and everything for the night. So the ladies was getting the kids ready to go to sleep and stuff. And while this was happening, the guy that actually owned the house said that he saw some lights out the window. So they hadn't like corroborated the stories between them. But the guy that owned the house was like doing the dishes, and he looked out the window and he saw some lights, and it looked like there was like it was like landing from like a little distance away. Right, this is like cool. This is such a cool story. This is a crazy story.
I can see you getting more excited.
Yeah, man, it's like cool. It's just like they should make a movie out of this.
Yeah,
right. This is a crazy story. So anyway, they put the kids to bed, and they were like gathering around. They were like playing cards and stuff like that in the kitchen. And then when they heard that the kids scream, and the kids like ran into like the room, and they said that I think what they described as like strange children had like been poking their heads like through the window. Well, not through the window, like in the window. They've been looking at them through the window. They like noticed, and obviously they were like, oh, like kids' imaginations. They were like, no, you're like absolutely fine, everything. Like, you're like go back to bed, essentially. So I went back to bed. Anyway, a little bit later on in the night, one of the people in the house was like suddenly noticed that their like porch light went off, and then they thought that they could see like something moving in their garden, essentially, like on their property. Like to like the left of their property, it was like they could see something like poking out from like behind a wall and then back again.
Okay.
Peeky.
So it's really weird. So he was like keeping an eye on that, but like he still didn't like say anything to anyone. He was just like, okay, this is like a little bit strange. And then soon after that, it sounded like they could hear something walking on the roof of their house.
Seagulls.
Giant mutated seagulls. And then they had a battle with the gremlins. No, the goblins, yeah. No. So anyway,
the tipper-tapper of the fiddler on the roof.
So being from Kentucky, they
get their shotguns.
Grab my gun.
They grabbed their guns. Anyway, so like what they had like two. So there was like a shotgun and a rifle in the house. So so like
good combo.
So like the guy, so the guy said he was going to go outside to like see what was on the roof, and as he like opened up the back door, he actually saw that there was like a little creature like looking at him from like about 30 yards away.
Right.
And he was like locked eyes with it for a minute, and then it just started moving towards him.
Oh!
So it like freaked him out. So he like put his gun up and he was like, leave now, and it just didn't say anything and just kept coming towards him. One thing I thought was like an interesting little side note as well is apparently he said it didn't so much like walk towards him as it like sort
floated.
of
stumbled.
Like glided.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like bumbling towards him, kind of
like
knocking stuff over.
What, like a drunk drunk zombie? Or like a drunk chimpanzee. Sort of like gliding towards him. So anyway, he put his gun up and he like gave it a warning, and it just like didn't do anything. So he shot it, and then apparently when he shot it, it didn't like fall down or anything, but like just ran off into the woods.
Right.
But because obviously it ran, like I think almost like naturally he got like a sense of like empowerment. So he like naturally like walked to the end of his porch, and when that happened, his friend suddenly pulled him back, and it was at that moment that he realised that then there was like an arm like coming down from under the porch that was like trying to grab him. So his friend had pulled him back because his friend had just suddenly seen this arm like come down from the roof to like try and grab his friend.
What?
Yeah, so his friend then ran out, was like beyond the porch, turned around and like shot that what was like the little one that was on the roof. And that fell down and that ran off into the night as well. So they both went inside the house and they shut the doors and they were like, what the hell is going on here? Like, they were obviously just like proper patrolling the house and stuff like that. And then like a minute later, and then the kids screamed again, and they ran in, and then they said that the little faces had been in the window again. So they were like, what the hell? So
mate, I'd be like, right, everyone in the living room, let's all sit in a circle.
So that's what they did. That's what they did. But they were like, doing like little perimeters of inside the house as well. So like the men were sort of going around because they didn't obviously want them to be able to like sneak into the house or anything.
Yeah.
So one of them like set up in what was the kids' room, and then like. Yeah, so after like a period of time, like a little face like turned up in the window, and he shot it like through the window. Right. So like shattered the glass. Anyway, this basically carried on happening all night. So they would like had shot multiple fires through the windows, had like shot these little creatures. There was never any blood left or anything like that, but there was like apparently like strange almost residue left over.
Okay.
Like weird residue. So anyway, it got to about 6 o'clock in the morning. And then it just suddenly cut to suddenly the local, like the nearest police department, and this whole family just bursts in, like literally like loaded up the pickup truck. So it got to like, when they thought it'd be safe, when the sun started going up, apparently they made the decision. They were like, right, all in the truck now, and they literally went out guns on, like loaded up the kids, loaded up the women, just got in there, and they just like tanked it off in the pickup. And they burst into this police department, and then just. Apparently, they like from the sheriff's like point of view, he said that this family just like burst in and just like ridiculously like panicked and like out of breath, and just like manic, like proper.
They'd
manic.
had a tough night.
Yeah, they'd had like a strange time of it. And so he was like, like, what's wrong, y'all? And everything. That's exactly what happened. And then they started telling him, and he just naturally like started laughing, and he was like, "What? Like,
What are you talking about?
You expect me to believe that you got attacked in the night by like strange little goblin creatures and everything?" And they were like, "Look, like, what happened? We don't like care if you think it sounds weird or anything. Like, this thing happened to us. Like, are you gonna help us or not?" So we were like naturally, the sheriff was like, "Okay, this is probably like a case of like mistaken identity. It was either probably like some like animal from the woods." Do you know what I mean? Like maybe like a bear or like and some bear cubs or something.
We always end up back on bears.
Everything's
some raccoons.
Everything's either bears or aliens.
Yeah. Bears are the real aliens.
Yeah, imagine that. Bears are shape-shifting aliens. Goblin bears. But yeah, so he's like thought it was like either that or it was just like people.
Right.
Anyway, apparently what he also thought as well, because like publicity stunts and that, he thought like maybe it's some sort of like
they're trying
stunt.
to get a bit of attention for like
newspapers
or something.
But apparently like real enough, like when the police went back to the property with the family, apparently it was like a crazy scene, because apparently they got there obviously, and there were just like had like blasted shotgun holes like all throughout the house. It's like all the windows like blown out. There were like random holes in like the roof where like they'd like just started like firing off at these like creatures that had been on the roof during the night, like different instances. So like
they're quite committed if this is a hoax.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? They'd essentially caused their house like I don't know, like $10,000 worth of property damage, maybe more. Like I don't know, just like blasted holes in the roof, blasted their windows out, loads of like bullet holes in the house from like different gunshots and stuff. Is that a UFO outside?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Coming to get us.
Maybe that's the little gremlins.
It's this little Kentucky.
We are coming for you.
The Kentucky Goblins. Yeah. So the sheriff was like didn't really know what to make of it, but they did do like a perimeter search and tried to look for like evidence of what was going on. And they did find like strange footprints at a couple of places around the house, including under like the window where the children were.
Oh, so they were like leaving some kind of like footprints and stuff.
Yeah.
What about the residue?
Yeah, so this is what I'm going to say as well. And the police also found like almost like a metallic residue.
Right.
Some like weird, almost like powdery metallic residue.
Right.
Where it looked like around the areas where the guys that said that they thought they'd shot them. And apparently it was like nothing that they'd ever seen before.
That's crazy. Have you ever heard on like crop circle sightings and things?
I know obviously about crop circles.
Yeah, so like but the residue that's found there as well. So just you saying about this metallic residue, so I remember like reading about that, and like the crops are never dead. They're just like folded over and kind of like almost like plaited within each other so they can grow again, which is really weird. So it's not like it just kind of like burns a hole, like burns the actual pattern into the crop circle. It just things them, and there is this like metallic like residue that's left there as well.
Oh, really?
It's this weird stuff.
I'd never heard of it. I always thought it was just almost like, because you said about burning it, I didn't even think it was like that. I thought it was just almost like the imprint of where something had been like flattening.
So
it
actually like folds over the crops and almost puts them in this weird like kind of like not plait, but like imagine like all curled round each other.
Right.
But they're so they're not damaged and that they can still grow.
What are your views on crop circles then?
I don't know really, man. Like I like to believe like that it is this because the patterns and everything, it's all these like geometric like mandalas and stuff, and it's like this really cool imagery, and it's supposed to be like representing like free energy and stuff like that, and like the abilities that we could have with this technology. It's almost like giving examples of that type of that technology in use. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, like the fact that it's not killed, but like nothing's damaged, so and the fact that it leaves this residue, or there's been known to be like this residue and proper charged as well, like like radiation, or like I'm not sure if it is radiation, but it's like electronically charged or something. Like you go to the sites and there's this like residual energy there as well, and I think that's pretty interesting.
Some of them are so precise as well that when I look at them I almost think, without an actual bird's eye view, How would you get it that precise?
Well, I do know there are like some people that are like almost like
amazing at it.
That like openly say that they like do crop circles. Like that's what they do.
Yeah, with some of them, like I think that could be humans. But like you say, some of them are super complicated. And
so with the metallic residue,
I said as well.
With the metallic residue, is that like a rarer like occurrence? Is that like in some? Do you know if that's like? I don't
know. I just know like from researching it, I've definitely like seen that or seen people presenting that as evidence. But I haven't studied like every single one or anything.
It would be cool if it was like they only found it at the sites of ones that like nobody came forth and obviously said they did it. If it was like Farmer Joe had done it in his field, it would be like, what? Do you know what I mean?
And I know we're actually quite close because where is it? Like Wiltshire is a real known place for them to happen. So I remember I drove down there. Yeah, and like I drove down there, and then there was this crop circle museum, and I went in there, and I was just like looking around. What
was in the museum then?
Just loads of examples of crop circles.
What, like pictures?
Pictures and stuff, and some examples of this evidence that I'm saying about as well. So like the metallic stuff and like people going there, and like you'd get a lot of them are in like people's like private property and stuff. So but you can't get to them, but like sometimes you can get to them, or like or people will go and they like meditate in them and stuff like that, and say that they can feel this like I drove this woman like to an event once, and she was just from Glastonbury, and I never met her before, and she was a bit crazy.
But how did you even like meet her to drive her?
So I was going to an event, and someone said, "Can you give her a lift?" Basically, because she's going to the event as well, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool." Like I knew the person. That I didn't know her, but I knew the person who asked me to take.
Right, I see. Because otherwise, I was like, "How did that even?"
Yeah, no, random one, but she was a real interesting woman, like well into all this stuff. But she was saying about that she would go to them. She's been to loads of them and stuff, and she was telling me about like meditating and almost like communicating with like extraterrestrials and stuff by just like sitting in this crop circle and being like,
oh man. What, and she said that she was almost like feeding off the energy of it or something.
Yeah, she said it would feel like this complete like elevated feeling of like love and stuff, and like and just like a real heightened energy, and when you actually go with and I was thinking, I really want to go to one and actually see if there's a tangible feeling to it,
Yeah,
it'd be pretty cool to see.
That's crazy.
I've never really given them much thought. As I said, I think I've like, I must have watched like certain like bits of it in documentaries and read some stuff about it, because I know stuff about it, if you know what I mean, but I just can't remember exactly from where. But I do remember hearing that like, some people like almost like not obviously do it for a living. I don't think you make very much money, but like almost like make a point of doing
it as a hobby.
Yeah. They do it like like a couple times a year or something like that, and they're like showing how they do it, and they basically use like big metal rollers. I mean, they just like push it around and stuff, and just like almost like enjoy making out of it, and almost like enjoy the mystery of it, if you know what I mean. Like not so much doing it to con people, but they obviously get off like it's like almost like a bit fun to think that people are going to be like, you know what I mean, like where did this come from? And they're just like doing it in the
and
night,
like a bit of artistic expression.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so I know there's people that do them on beaches.
Yeah.
So you get like they get these rakes and that, and then do these like insanely huge like mandalas and stuff that are almost like crop circles, but they're just on a beach. But then they just get washed away by the sea. Obviously. Yeah.
I think my opinions on things like crop circles are quite similar to my opinions on things like Bigfoot, in terms of like there's so many like hoaxes, and there's so much explainable stuff that it almost like detracts a little bit from the unexplainable stuff. And do you know what I mean? So it's almost like, because 90% of it is either like somebody did it or it's explainable in some way, it almost like ruins the 10%, which is like seems like a genuine mystery. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's like then it's almost like it's so tempting then to like tar the whole subject with like the same
because if it's plausible for thousands of these crop circles to all be made just by people wandering out at night, then why isn't it for the rest of them?
And also, it's also my same opinion on the same thing as like conspiracy theories. You know, we talked about conspiracy theories before, and I was like saying how it's like, you know, like 9 out of 10 conspiracy theories are just that, they're conspiracy theories. But there's always that 1 in 10 which turns out to be true. You know, like, and we've talked about some of them on the show before. And it's the same thing. I think with all of these subjects, it's like, I do think there is an element of it where like the basis of it, or like the origins of it, is based in some sort of mystery or like some sort of like unknown origin. But I think it's like over the years, like because of like whether it's people trying to get attention or it's just like for fun or whatever like that, it's like people obviously then do it, and then it almost like it tarnishes the whole thing a bit, you know.
I've just remembered something.
I can see that your face, that like
and it's
exciting.
Quite awesome.
Okay, go on.
So this was a weird one. I just remember because I did research on it years ago.
Yeah.
There was a message that was sent out in the 70s. It was either the 60s or the 70s.
Is this a satellite?
Yeah, out into space.
Yeah. I know which one you're on
like
about.
a blip, 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 like, you know, a kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there was this crop circle, right, that turned up, and it was like half a face, and then like all this code, and it was like literally like this insanely like complex crop circle, and they decoded it. And it was a response to the message that was sent out by the satellite.
What?
That was a pretty crazy
one.
So
in what way?
In it was like the message said something like, "Is there anyone out there?" Blah 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 blah, whatever. And it literally said like, "This is in response to this message," or like, "This is in."
Right.
You know, the answer in the crop circle was like, you know.
I think I think like the probe or the satellite, however you want to talk about it. Probably probe is a better word, because I think satellite, it has to satellite something, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It has to orbit something.
I think this was like a radio frequency that was sent out. It was
I've heard of stuff like that.
Well, I know that there was a probe that was sent out in like the 60s, I believe, and because I remember I heard like about, it was like a few years ago, it said it finally had gotten to like the borders of our solar system, which was pretty cool. Because I remember it was like big news, because it was like, oh yeah, this thing that was sent out like, you know, almost 60 years ago, like 55 years ago or something, has literally just got to the boundaries of our solar system.
Right.
So it was like it's the first time ever that a man-made object had like had gotten to the borders, and is obviously now beyond our galaxy, which is like insane, isn't it?
If you had to send out like one message to an alien, right, you can choose one thing that from all of humanity that you can show to aliens, let's say either if they invade or just send out into space.
Yeah.
What do you choose?
Conan the Barbarian. I show them the Conan the Barbarian movie. No, I wouldn't really. I show them Lord of the Rings. No, I don't know. I think that's such a hard one, because it's like, how do you sum up an entire like civilization and culture that like humankind have had, that's like goes over the course of like, you know, like the first like quote unquote human like evolved like 2 million years ago.
Right.
And Homo sapiens, as we know them now, have only been around for about 200,000 years. So how do you like...
I think you just find like the funniest video you can possibly find.
Watch Dumb and Dumber.
Just some guy getting like hit in the balls or something. Send that out.
I like the idea of them watching Dumb and Dumber or something, just because, like, have you seen Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah.
Like Lloyd and Harry in it. It's just so funny. Like, it's just such a funny movie. Either that, or if I wanted to get really deep, I'd show them like, I don't know, like something about like the Fibonacci sequence or something.
Right.
Or maybe like play them like Lateralis by Tool, because obviously they use the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that like most like intelligent beings would like understand the Fibonacci sequence. Understand it.
I reckon you could get like an actual, because I reckon you could make something crazy out of drones, because they use drones now like they use fireworks. Have you seen this?
No. Are they just like bombs, aren't they?
Huh? Drones?
Yeah, because you said like drones, like they got fireworks, but I know that obviously the military use drones nowadays. So when you were like fireworks, I was like, isn't that just like bombing people?
No. So like for instance, in Olympic ceremonies, and I think the actual firework display in like London and everything now, they use actual drones to like all synchronise.
I saw that in New Year's Eve actually.
They look
because that
ridiculous.
Was mental.
They look ridiculous. I'd choose something like that, basically displaying the history of humankind.
I remember watching that on New Year's Eve actually and being like in awe of it, because I didn't know anything about it, but like my sister-in-law's boyfriend,
right?
He's like he's like a drone pilot.
Yeah,
he's just like he's got like a business that does drone photography and stuff like that called Bad Wolf Horizons. So he knows obviously like loads about drones.
Yeah, he's the drone man.
He builds his own drones.
That's cool.
And he's made them because he couldn't find drones on the market that could go as fast as he wanted.
Right.
And he does like some of his. I'll have to show you, man. Some of his videos are mental. Like he flies them at like high speed, like through these like crazy places, and it's nuts.
That's crazy.
Obviously he's like in that world, so he was like telling me about it like before it happened. And if he hadn't told me, I probably wouldn't have even paid attention to it and even like realised how amazing it was, if you know what I mean, because I was looking out for it. But it was such an intricate display. Like you think about fireworks, and you obviously just think about stick them in the ground and then they go off. But it was like this artwork in the sky, and it was like crazy. It was crazy.
They do it all on a system, don't they?
I don't know.
They'll plot out like where the drones are going to go at this point, and they'll just follow that.
So it's like pre-mapped, and then you just go and they do it all. Yeah.
I know they do it, and I think they do it in like Tokyo and everything a lot.
Really, I can imagine.
Utilize it, but it's so powerful.
Mate, it's mental. And we're going to listen to a track now. This is Sun King by The Cult. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to get right back into... I haven't even finished the Kentucky Goblins story, so we'll get back into that. Full circle. That was Sun King by The Cult. You're listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. Hope you're having a lovely, lovely, lovely day out there. So we got a little bit off track before that before that last song. Tracks everywhere. Because I was telling you a story about the Kentucky Goblins.
Those little.
And then we
goblins.
got onto like crop circles and stuff as well. But I'm going to bring it round
Bring it right back now.
Full circle.
Bring it back now, y'all.
Bring it back now.
Yeah. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, we were talking about the fact that there was like the police found some weird residue from where the guys had like shot at these like weird little creatures. So anyway, there was like loads of damage on the property. Apparently the family were like really like obviously shook up about it, but like decided to stay living there and rebuild. One thing that I think is really interesting, which is definitely worth mentioning, is the closest neighbours, which lived about a mile away, were interviewed, and they did say that the night it happened they also saw the lights in the sky and then saw something like coming down as if it was landing.
Adds a little bit more
corroboration,
a bit more credence to the story, a bit more tangibility.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Plausibility,
tangibility,
credence.
I like that about stories. I think that's one of my favourite bit about stories is when it's not just like one family that's saying it. When there's got other witnesses. Witnesses.
Makes it far more intriguing, doesn't it? Because you're like, it just makes you believe it more. Makes it like shift in your head.
It's like
from
10
just being
times more
nonsense.
plausible.
Yeah. I think with this story, like, the thing is, I thought made it sound interesting was like the physical damage to their house. Like, I think that you'd have to be a complete idiot to just randomly start firing like shotguns into your house and blow out your windows and that. Because not having windows is a big deal in your home.
And how much that would cost to actually sort all of that out. Insurance probably wouldn't pay out for there were some aliens turned up and I was shooting at them all night. You know what I mean? They'd probably have to repair all that and pay for all that yourself.
Imagine that being on your insurance policy. Insured against... sorry, mate. I'm covered for aliens. I'm covered for alien invasion, mate. I'm covered. But yeah, so one of the things that's interesting is at first they were asked, like, from multiple sources and sort of like the Kentucky and wider American like media, to do like a couple of interviews about it. And at first they said that they would, but then when they realised that like all the articles coming out were almost like more like taking the mick out of them, they immediately just ceased doing any interviews. And to this day, they haven't done an interview, and they've like refused to like see anybody about it.
Right.
One thing that they did do for a while, which makes I think the story seem a little bit more dodge, is apparently they were paying a fee. Charging a fee to people if they wanted to come to the house.
I don't know about that.
But then again, I think at first, my initial like reaction to that is
someone had to pay for the windows.
Yeah. My initial reaction to it is like, okay, yeah, that seems a little bit dodge. But then I'm like, well, actually, I actually think that's just fair enough in terms of like the entrepreneurial spirit. Like if you can make a little bit of money, if people
are turning up anyway, rather than turning them away or just having to show loads of people around all the time,
you might as well do it in an organised manner. While you can do it in this organised way, like, okay, well, this is, you can walk around the house and come in here, but you're going to charge you some money, because otherwise you're just basically trespassing. Yeah. So I actually think that's fair enough, personally.
I think my one issue with the story is that there's no real intent from the aliens or from the goblins. When I think of like alien stories, there always seems to be like a overriding, we want to communicate, technology's
not
bad,
always.
This kind of thing.
Not always.
For a lot of them.
I
think for me it gets rid of that plausibility a little bit when it's almost just like, oh yeah, these creatures arrived and were looking in my window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, I think the way I think about that though is just like you're almost like thinking about it almost in too much of like a code. Do you know what I mean? So like take like the humankind, like, of like the 7.5 billion people on the planet, like you're gonna see such a wide, diverse mix of like actions, reactions, ways of life, ways of being, like things that people do. So it's like to think that there's only these like certain set ways that like these creatures could act, I think is almost like, I think it's like limiting your thinking.
It's a good point.
Do you know what I mean?
It's a good point.
I think
There's
that like
billions of stars in the sky, they could all be a bit different if they come down.
I mean
that's a very good point.
I mean, who knows, like, who am I to say? Do you know what I mean? But I just think that like, if they sort of were landing almost maybe just to do like a little bit of like recon or something like that, I don't know, like it makes
I find it weird how like they kept coming back even though they were getting shot at loads and stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's a bit like when I think of like, say like recon and having a look and just having a bit of a mooch what's around, seeing what's going on. If they can see that you're hostile, then it'd probably either make them want to be hostile to you, or you'd think, oh, I got to back off a little bit.
Well, I don't necessarily think that either.
Really?
I think like they obviously weren't that damaged by the gunshots.
Oh yeah, so if it's if it's not affecting them too much, they're just like, oh, these are weird. They're just shooting at me.
They weren't at any point violent towards the people. They were obviously like harassing them, whether they meant to or not. They were obviously harassing the people in the house, but they never could like obviously showed any intent of trying to harm the people. The fact that they were unaffected pretty much by the gunshots, apart from leaving this weird residue, shows that, you know, if they wanted then to just keep almost like marching forward and then to attack, that they could have done. It's almost
I've lost respect for them now, though.
Really?
Yeah, just because.
Drew's lost. They've lost Drew as an ally.
Yeah, just because, you know, if it's pretty freaky, innit? Like, that'd be pretty freaky for us, our little brains who are just
mate, that'd be mega freaky.
Yeah.
So if they can see that we're so freaked out, like we're shooting at them and that, don't keep coming back. You want to get on, boy.
Yeah, but you got to think about it like this, right? Because it's all about perspective, right? Say you came across a stray cat, right? So stray cats are obviously, you know, very different temperament to domestic cats. Although to us, we just see a cat.
Oh yeah, do you remember that kitten outside the front? It was going mental.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were here the day actually.
I remember there's a cat that comes around sometimes out here.
Yeah, there was this little grey kitten that got stuck down. There's a big drop just outside of where we are at the studio. Got stuck down there, but literally we were trying to go down the gate and it was going mental. As soon as you
like, tried
scared,
to, man.
Yeah, obviously scared, but like that we had to get it out because it was just stuck in the drain. Like, you know what I mean? So someone came out with like some gloves from like the dentist next door and just picked it up, but it went mental. So yeah, I kind of know what you mean.
So yeah, the point I'm making is like for us, right? We all come across like a stray cat. Say if you want to catch it for whatever reason, maybe I don't know. It could be any reason. Maybe you want to decide you want to keep the cat and you're going to take it to the vets to get it like fleed and wormed and neutered and all that, or whatever, right? But you come across that cat, you almost like know your intention, and in that scenario, you're like the master of the scenario. So you're at ease. Even if you're going to like physically manhandle the cat, approach the cat, even if the cat doesn't want you to approach it, you're going to approach it anyway. Even if the cat acts aggressively towards you, you're still going to approach it, and you're just going to find a way to sort of like handle the situation because you know it's for the cat's better good or whatever. Right? In that scenario with the aliens, the people, and the humans are the stray cats. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you're saying like you're losing respect for them, I think even that maybe is a bit like unnecessary.
Well, I don't know, just because like if depending on what their intentions were, you know what I mean? Like
it wasn't obviously anything that malicious because they didn't harm the people. I guess the worst thing you could say is I
think it's disrespectful to infringe on someone's personal space in that way. Do you know what I mean?
But would you say it's disrespectful to a stray cat to like capture it, to take it to the vets, to like give it a better life?
Well, I can't imagine these aliens come down to giving us a better life or anything like that.
No. I know it's not like 100% a parallel analogy, but the point I'm making is that I know that they weren't trying to capture us to like take us to vet or anything, but whatever they were here for, obviously, is probably beyond our comprehension anyway, right? The same way that it would be beyond a cat's comprehension to know why a human would want to capture it against its will. Right, but say you have nothing but sort of benevolent intentions, right? The same way that the aliens ultimately do. You know, so like the cat could scratch you. The cat even might potentially get so wound up it might even hurt itself. It's not going to stop you from capturing it because you know. Do you know what I mean? But you wouldn't necessarily say that's disrespectful to the cat. And that's coming from like I love cats. I've always had cats all my life, and I absolutely love cats. But I wouldn't see it as like that's disrespectful to the cat.
I think it depends on the outcome. Do you know what I mean? Like with the cat, like you're giving, like you say, you're going to deneuter it, you're going to give it a better life and stuff like that. I think because I don't know, or we can't know what the intentions are of the aliens. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's where I'm like, you can't answer that because you don't know what their intentions were.
Yeah, the story as well, where they're just popping up in the window, like it doesn't almost seem like they've got a bigger intention. That's what I thought. I thought it was just almost
but the thing is, they could have had an intention, but we just don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So if their intentions were like, I think it's relative. Like if it was like what you're saying, like positive, like it was totally positive, and they're going to show something, or
put it like this then.
Then that's cool. But just like, I think it's this. It freaks me out. It's probably I'm probably like triggered by it because I'm freaked out by something infringing on my private like space or life.
Yeah.
That I have no control over. Like that freaks me out because do you know what I mean? Like,
all right, we're gonna listen to a track now. Anyway, this is The Unforgiven by Metallica. Stick around. When we come back, we're gonna get right back into it. I've got some more analogies for Drew and Nathaniel. Yeah, I
think that might be the funniest link we've done. I was just sat there just giggling. It's the fact you're like, you know what, they've lost my respect. And you're like, what? What?
That's because, because obviously Drew's like the alien one that knows all the names. It's just like, to me, it's such a defining moment in history that Drew has like suddenly decided he is no longer an ally of the aliens.
I was just like,
after all of these years of
like you're the spokesperson for the Kentucky aliens. Like, well, actually,
I'm like their lawyer. Yeah. I'm like, well, think of it this way: if you got a stray cat, and you just imagine the judge there listening, like, good point. That was This Mortal Soil by Mastodon. Before that, we had Cool Jam by Lady Owl. Loving Mastodon. Just love how proggy and just cool Mastodon are. Anyway, we're talking, as usual, about aliens here on Pandora's Box. Sort of like this has unofficially become like the alien channel. The alien show. But anyway, if you've just like tuned in, so we were talking about this story. It's called the Kentucky Goblin story. And I'll get into why it's called the Kentucky Goblin story, not the Kentucky alien story, because there's still a lot more wider ramifications to this story and like more background.
Not even done yet.
Not even done yet, mate. Not even done yet. But Drew was saying how he's like lost respect for the aliens because Armstrong, because what Cup was saying to the left of me, aka Nathaniel, he was saying that it's the reason why the story doesn't necessarily sound like credible to him is because it almost seems like pointless, just like sticking your head in the window. But then I was sort of like saying, but you know, we don't know exactly what they could have been doing. Is it just because it seemed pointless to us? It might have been a bigger reason for what they were doing. Who knows? There also might not have been. I'm just saying. But because we were using like an analogy, because Drew's saying he lost respect because of the way that it seemed almost like disrespectful to the humans from just sort of like coming onto their property and winding us up to the point that we were going to like fire at them, but still like persisting. And I sort of was like saying, you know, but like if you were going to catch like a stray cat, even if the cat was going to be like, it was being aggressive to you and like trying to scratch you and was even like hurting itself because it was thrashing out so much, but you needed to like capture it because you knew it was what's best for it because you were going to take it to a vet or whatever, then you would probably still do it anyway. You wouldn't see that you were disrespecting the cat. Obviously, it's not a perfect parallel, but I've got like another analogy actually I thought of, which is even better, right? So say you work for like the Wildlife Trust or something, right? And your job is to like manage, I was going to say manage, not the right word. So like, what's the word I'm looking for? My friend Alice actually does this with otters. To like inspect and basically take notes on say like otter burrows or like badger burrows and also like foxes, right? So say you're a fox or a badger, right? Or an otter. Imagine you're in your burrow, right? You got your kids there, right? You're chilling out for the day. You've been hunting. You've got your nice little burrow, right? Now imagine, right? For some reason, you stick your head out your burrow and you see a human there, right? Just like sneaking around. Because obviously they're trying not to disturb you. So they're almost like humans. Obviously, the people that work for the Wildlife Trust there. It's against
because we got respect for the badgers.
Yeah, but it's against the law to like.
These guys were just like.
Yeah, he just run around.
But this is the thing, right? So it would be seem like real similar. So right, so say you stick your head out and you just see somebody almost like in the bushes, like staring at you, right? Especially with like a little camera or something, which to you is like, which to them is like weird futuristic technology, right? And then you're like, wait a minute, I'm just like in my house with my little kids, and then there's like some weird creature outside, like poking around, staring at me with like this camera or whatever, right? And then say you found out that the Foxborough has like an outbreak of TB or something else wrong with them, right?
Yeah, you got to inoculate them.
You're actually going to then start sticking your hand down the burrow and trying to grab them and stuff. Right. Well, think to the foxes. right, or the badgers or the otters, whatever in this scenario, they're going to see that as nothing but as an aggressive invasion of their space. From their point of view, there's this unknown assailant. You're just trying to sleep in your burrow with your kids, right? And then this creature has not only you not only captured it being sneaky along the borders of your territory and just like staring at you and sneaking around, but then has aggressively, moved in on your territory and even maybe tried to abduct your children or yourself, maybe even put you under, and then you just wake up again in your burrow or something, right? To them, that is seen as nothing but a disrespectful, aggressive, strange, terrifying experience. To us, that would maybe just be trying to treat TB for the betterment of the
But the thing is about that is TB. Or trying to monitor the situation because of to try and help protect them. So this is the bit that I'm not like. If that is the case for us, if they were trying to help us in some way because we had our own TB that they were trying to inoculate us from or something, do you know what I mean? Like, then that's cool. But it doesn't seem. But maybe that's just that's naivety. But
I was going to say but the thing is, right, in the same way that foxes don't understand the comprehension of TB, we might understand the comprehension of
why they were there. Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. But it was like the pointlessness, or do you know what I mean? If there wasn't something like that,
to us.
Yeah. So if there was something like that they were trying to help us with, that's cool. But if not, then that's just annoying.
So basically, if there is a higher movement, then Kentucky aliens, you're one of us. If not, screw you.
You weird little goblin aliens. You little goblin aliens
creeping on us.
So one of the interesting things that makes that's the reason why they're called the Kentucky Goblins, why it's called the Kentucky Goblins story and not necessarily flat out like the alien stories, is
they're spiced with 7 different original flavours.
Well, no, one of the interesting things is there's tales similar to this one that go back like thousands of years in North America, and it's even like ingrained in like the Native American tribes that used to live in Kentucky. They used to call it the goblins. So they used to describe them as goblins, and they've got tales going back thousands of years of like strange goblins it would coincide with like seeing strange lights in the sky and stuff, where then like the tribes would then be like harassed by what they would call goblins.
Okay. That's another little flavour to it.
They'd be like harassed, or like strange things would happen, or things would disappear and things like that. I
remember I said in like a previous episode of Pandora as well about like tribes that have said that they've had these communications with like extraterrestrials like through thousands of years. So that's like another example of that, isn't it? Like, they could have been watching for a very long time.
Yeah, there's also another really sort of ambiguous tale, and this one, make what you will of it, because it could be like a hoax or it could be like genuine. But there was also like I can't remember the name of the guy. He was like a paranormal investigator. This was like back in the 90s, so obviously it wasn't like nowadays we've got loads more media and stuff. Back in the 90s, obviously the internet was like quite a brand new thing. So I think this was like 1999 or something like that. And this bloke had like a paranormal website.
Right.
So it was like, it was like one of those things that's like, back in those days, you could either like phone somebody, send somebody a fax, or you'd like go on like a website and you could like contact them through the website.
Yeah,
but that was it. We didn't have like necessarily the things we have now. But anyway, the guy that owned this paranormal website received an email from a guy that lived in Kentucky, and he basically like described this account. It was like very similar to this one that happened, the original Kentucky Goblin story, but he didn't react in such an overly aggressive way. And maybe because of that, this was like a prolonged experience. So the first story was like one night of madness, and then it was like they were never bothered again. Whereas this one was like strange. So this one I found a bit more like creepy and a bit more sinister, just because it seemed a little bit more like drawn out, and also a bit more like it gave me almost like a feeling when I was listening to it of almost like isolation.
Right.
Because like the guy lived like similar to the first one, lived like right in the middle of Kentucky. But the first one, obviously, like
with his family and everything.
The family had like family to stay, so there was like quite a lot of people in the house. There was like 2 fully grown men, like several women, lots of kids. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, at least you're in like a big group mentality.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it was like a bloke, his wife, and his daughter, and that was it. And the bloke basically kept also like most of it to himself because he didn't want to scare his family.
Right.
So it started with his daughter saying that at night. Sorry. This is the first. I've missed the first bit of the story, which was actually really cool. So sometimes obviously they might have like family over and stuff, and they would like have cousins like to stay with them and stuff. So his daughter would play with her cousins.
Okay.
And the dad came home from work one day and assumed that, that he had some relatives over, because he saw his daughter like playing in the distance, like over like on a hill, on like a hill, and he could see two, let's call them beings that were about the same size as his daughter. Just sort of
with
like
her?
No, not like directly with her,
watching.
but near her. So he assumed that it was like two of her cousins that were just like playing with her, right? So when she came back like a minute later, it was like, "Oh, daddy, like how was work? Nice to see you. Like how was work and that." He was like chatting to her normally, and he was like, "Where are your cousins? Where are your cousins gone?" She was like, "What are you on about?" And he was like, "You're playing with your cousins, weren't you?" And she was like, "No." And he was like, "Who are you over there with then?" And she was like, "I wasn't with anybody. I was on my own." And he was like, "What?" Like in his head, he didn't carry it on, but he was like, said that like really,
because he know what he saw.
Really close to her. He saw like two little. I think he decided to call them like the Pale Children or something like that.
Okay,
that's so the name that he dubbed it.
Just to clarify.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
When you started this story, I was almost imagining like little green sort of fools.
Yeah.
When I've searched it up, like the actual rendering of them is like they're either metallic or they're like human like skin.
Oh, that's like creepy.
Almost like little like like
you got a picture of them, have you?
Fishmen, yeah. Got a picture up here.
Can you like?
I'll try and grab it on my phone.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Show the cameras and everything, but yeah, they're like little, almost like swamp skinned creatures.
Creepy.
Yeah, a little bit pruned. Maybe.
Well, yeah, because when you hear Goblin, the first thing I think of is almost like a little Lord of the Rings type creature.
Yeah, and I was thinking like, why Goblin? But it must be this weird appearance for it to be a Goblin. As well, because if it's like an alien, you would say like alien or like,
The thing is, it's like there's so many different names for so many different things as well, if you know what I mean.
Goblins
like,
seem a bit monstrous.
Like those grey aliens.
Ceta reticuli.
Drew's on first name terms with them. They're very small, strange looking little creatures. Well, also goblins are very small, strange looking little creatures. So it's like, oh yeah, that's weird. Look at that.
Oh,
look at that.
They almost look a little bit like greys as well, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is different renderings of them and everything. This is another photo. Kind of that sort of build.
Is that like an old Native American picture or something? Because that looks mental.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. It just says history lesson, so it obviously goes back a long way. But there is a lot of stuff on them, and they're all kind of that lanky, long arms, small frame,
as
big
I said,
head,
I know it's like a big part of folklore
figure.
nowadays in Kentucky, and it's like almost like one of those things where, as I said, I think the Native American tribes thought of them as like spirits or like monsters or like not monsters but like spirits or demons or like creatures of the forest or something.
I think anything when it's ingrained into like a culture, there's some kind of truth in it of these experiences. Do you know what I mean? Like if it's so like ingrained.
I think as well, like before I just sort of get back onto the main topic as well, I think there's like from people that like to dwell in the realms of the paranormal and the unknown, I think there is almost like a bit of like a shift, or at least like debate nowadays in terms of like maybe things that people in medieval times and before thought of as like demons or monsters could potentially actually be like aliens, for example.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, if you want to believe that sort of thing, then it's plausible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally, man.
I mean, you could say, until an animal is like classified by science, it's essentially a monster, isn't it? You know what I mean? Up until the point where it's classified by science, that once it's classified by science, it's an animal. Before that, it's almost like a monster of folklore.
Yeah.
You know,
or
some terrifying beast that can like rip man limb from limb, and it's like massive and bears.
And before something is understood technologically, it's magic.
Before something can be explained by science, it's magic. Yeah. I always think that like science and magic are essentially the same thing. It's just like what people used to call magic is now science. Even like alchemy used to be considered science. Nowadays, you just be a chemist.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, alchemy used to be considered magic, I meant to say. Nowadays, if you're an alchemist, you're not considered like a magician or a wizard. You just be a chemist. You work in chemistry. It's very interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. But where was I with the main story anyway? So
he saw the good kids.
Yeah. So soon after that, his daughter started like screaming in the night and stuff like that. And he said that the first time it happened, he heard his daughter scream. Obviously, naturally, when you wake up and hear your daughter scream, it was like primal, paternal reaction. He just like, jumped out of bed, went to like run to her room. Didn't get as far as her room though, because she was already like bolting it down the corridor.
Right.
So they like met in the room, and she said that she'd seen like a little face in her window, and it terrified her. So, and apparently she flat out refused to sleep in her bed after that. So in this guy's email to the paranormal guy who owned this website, he basically said that up until that moment, like up until that point in time, his daughter had slept in their bed every single night since, because she flat out refused to.
Yeah.
So apparently, like, this guy's wife was like pretty much not oblivious to it all, but obviously, like, he let her believe that it was like nightmares and stuff like that, because he didn't want to worry as well.
But he'd also seen something as well, so that's so good that he actually saw something, because it's like he would have probably just been like, oh no, you
go back to bed. Sort of
thing, but he's like, oh, maybe there is something in this, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's also like understandable, because I think I would do the same thing. Like, he didn't involve his partner in it, because he thought probably it would just make the situation worse. Like, it would add to the hysteria and the panic of the house. Like, I think as I think this might be considered like an old-fashioned opinion by some people, but like I almost think it's almost like a job as like the man of the house to like almost like be like a calming presence and to like keep everything under control. You know, like make sure that your missus and your kid feel safe and like they're not panicking, and don't add to that. You know, try and relieve it and take it away wherever possible. So it was like, what at that point in time, what would have been the good of almost like creating more hysteria by like telling her? Like,
I think if you knew this was going on, your mind would start to trick you into seeing stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly. And but like soon after that, it was like it snowed soon after that, and what he started noticing was pretty much he noticed it once, almost like the first time, almost like randomly. But he noticed like strange tracks.
Oh, the footprints are here.
Like around his house, and he found them in like several places around his house. Once he noticed it once, he made a point of checking for every day, and pretty much, and more or less, not every day, but more or less every day, he found like strange tracks around his house
that you couldn't put.
I think he said
like an animal.
I think he said that they were almost like three-toed. Like almost like a weird like three-toed.
Yeah.
Maybe see if you can find that, man. I don't know. You might be able to find. Say like I don't know.
I've actually got a photo up here.
Have you? What does it look like?
Yeah, it's almost like a little chimp foot sort of thing, but with 3 toes, like you say.
Right, yeah.
So it's almost got that kind of very rounded sort of base, unlike a human foot.
Right.
And then the 3 little toes hanging out. Here's a photo for you guys as well, so you can kind of see.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh wow, man.
Yeah.
And like apparently, like soon after this happened, the guy like decided to like start putting like like the lights in, like the sort of like the floodlights where they're set off by movement. And apparently he would like deliberately stay up late at night sometimes just to see if anything would be set off and see if he could see anything. And sure enough, they started getting set off some nights, and he started describing how he would see sometimes like these, I think he said it was like between 2 and 3 like little creatures like moving around the perimeter of his house, and almost like being sort of like just sneakily sort of never actually like doing anything never actually doing anything crazy.
Just having a mooch about.
And he didn't do what like the original Kentucky family did. He didn't just like
trying to shoot him,
just suddenly just kick the door out and just start going crazy. He was just sort of observing them, but like obviously he found it extremely menacing. But he said that they would just sneak around the house, and like he never I don't think he ever necessarily saw it himself like peer in the windows, but he could imagine that when he wasn't around that they probably did, because he would find also like footsteps like underneath like certain windows in the house and stuff like that. Anyway, do you know what? I actually can't remember 100% what like triggered this. But anyway, his wife and his daughter ended up going and staying with relatives because apparently like
freaked out.
They were just freaked out basically. Right, so he ended up staying in the house himself. And the cool thing about this story as well is it's like you're not told even directly by the person. You're told by the person that was getting the emails, right? So the guy that was getting the emails like said that the guy had gone back to the house on his own, and he was almost like there almost like by this point doing research, but he said he wanted help with the situation, right? And that's why he was messaging the guy,
right?
And we're gonna get. I'll play a track now. When we get back there, we'll get into some more because it almost like ends on like it almost like the story almost like ends in like a bit of like a weird like freaky cliffhanger.
Okay.
So so we'll get into that. But for right now, this is Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath.
Non-COVID related cough.
Yeah. Sometimes you just feel like under the weather, but it's not because you actually have anything. You just fucking like severely like.
Oh mate, if I don't get much sleep, I get fucked. You know.
yeah.
You know, it is. I feel like run down. I feel ill.
I remember I watched a really interesting podcast with a neurologist, and he was just basically saying like, do not underestimate the effects of
sleep.
Yeah, mate, serious. He was saying he was saying that in the long term it can actually take years from your life.
Yeah, and people start going mental if they don't sleep.
And not
people do night shifts.
Yeah,
fuck that.
Yeah. But I to be fair, I could probably do that because I'm quite a night bird. But as long as I can sleep all day,
definitely.
I get tired. I get tired at like 10. I gotta go to bed.
That's good. That's good though.
Good habit.
The best I ever feel is when you're in that rota of just currently like sleeping at the right time. You never feel better. It's so good.
I don't know what it feels like, mate.
Especially having a kid and stuff.
I know before I've been in modes where I've literally gone to bed at like 8 p.m. and woke up at like 7 and just been like so comfortable throughout the whole day.
That is like so much sleep.
Time.
You sleep from 8 until 7
Yeah.
That's 11 hours.
On head, then 5 on head, get to bed, sleep until for that long. But
maybe not like I probably went to bed at 8 but probably like fell asleep at like 9.
Oh right, yeah. Spent an hour just getting comfy and being like
just kind of chilling, maybe on my phone a little bit.
Pass out. Yeah, that's good, man. That's good. I'm such a creature of the darkness.
I'm such a creature of the darkness.
You find with a lot of successful people, they always say like their sleep schedule is like the most important thing. People get up at like 5 and just go and work out.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah, I was reading this guy or watching this guy on a podcast saying that he gets up at like 4 or something stupid, but has the first 2 hours of his day to get everything like hard done. So he has his workout then. He does all of the stuff that he really needs to do in that day before anyone else is even out of bed. And then he can
have breakfast, take his kids to school.
I was like, that's a pretty good idea.
You guys play games, don't you?
Yeah, sometimes.
Have you got a console?
Really. I got an Xbox One.
I had an Xbox One, and we always used to use it upstairs, like in my bedroom. One night we were just watching a movie there, and I had to go down for a piss or something. So I put the remote down.
What's this going to be?
Literally, remote's just gone forever.
What?
Seriously.
What?
Seriously, right? Meg was in bed still, and
with the remote?
No, I went for a piss. I paused it and went for a piss. The remote? Yeah, and then come back upstairs. Remote was missing, right? Never to this day sat found. And we ripped out the bed from the bedroom, took all the wardrobe apart.
I reckon if I went to your place, I reckon I could find it.
Oh man, no, we went.
I reckon I could find it.
Oh, I don't know.
Just on his bedside table.
I reckon it'd be something mental.
No. This has been like months of searching.
I love the idea of months of like every moment Drew is home. He does nothing but search for the
I refused
months.
That's why you've been sleeping.
Yeah, I refused to buy a new remote control, but now I've just not had an Xbox for months.
Yeah, because you just can't operate it.
Yeah.
You just can't operate it.
That's too good,
mate. That's savage, mate. What the
My
fuck?
house swallows things, though.
I love that.
Oh my god.
My house swallows things.
Did you live with someone, don't you?
Yeah.
You did that.
Meg and Nikki.
Yeah, but before, who was it before?
Sarah Chen.
The Indian lady that might have been African.
Maybe she took it.
She's an African lady. No.
So did you pause it and put it on the bed and go downstairs, or did you pause it, take the remote with you for some reason?
Thought that might have been the case. Searched everywhere downstairs as well. Wasn't the case.
Where on earth could you have put it on the way to the
someone's
bathroom?
got to have taken it.
What bathroom did you use?
And this was it, right? So it was like I went downstairs. I remember I went down, got a glass of water, went to the bathroom, walked back upstairs. That was it.
Which bathroom
in that
did you
time,
use?
downstairs,
the
main bathroom downstairs. Yeah,
the one that you
took
the carpets out recently.
Yeah. So that time it was literally like.
So there was the trail of downstairs,
and I knew that I'd lost it in that time as well.
Straight to the sink.
Yeah.
And then at the sink to the toilet, straight back up.
That's it,
mate. Surely you can find that.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
I'm telling you, that's gone. Someone's had that.
It's
mate,
crazy.
Why? I don't think he's finding it. It's happened to me.
No, I reckon he'll find. I reckon.
You've lost something like that before, like
I lose stuff all the time,
and it's never turned back
all the time. Yeah, I lost my iPod at one point. Just never found it. Definitely in my house. This stuff happens to me like all the time.
Yeah, too often to me as well.
I think you're the weird one. You've never had anything like get lost. And
Just
you
in your house
just
and
gone.
just never, and it's never turned up forever.
Only when I was like a child, but I think that's because I was a retard. like no, seriously. Like I remember one of like the biggest heartbreaks of my like childhood was one of my favorite things to play with was toy swords. Obviously, because I wasn't allowed to play real ones.
Oh hell yeah!
And I had loads of toy swords, but there was this one toy sword in particular that was like my favorite sword, right? And one day I went to play with it, right? Couldn't find it. I literally got to the point I was devastated. I literally turned the house upside down. My mum like helped me and everything. Searched everywhere. I never found the sword ever. So it's like what you guys are saying.
I lose stuff all the time.
That's the only thing I can think of.
All the time.
I've obviously lose stuff, but then I find it.
I reckon that was a traumatic moment for you, man. That's come up. That's come up for a reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my point.
What reason? I'm like, what?
Just, to release it finally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
Gave your fears.
I release you.
Start losing stuff now.
Yeah. Oh, I hope fucking not, mate.
You need to play. You need to play Call of Cthulhu.
Oh, mate, I do need to.
It's so good. It's like a fan-made game, obviously.
Is it like Assassin's Creed?
No.
I love how I just read that. It's like Assassin's Creed.
No.
You go around shanking people randomly.
So there's no like fighting. It's
I'm not
literally
interested
just like,
then.
It's literally just like a story game. There's you get a gun at the end. But
at the end?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like an investigative game, is it?
Yeah, like a detective game.
I love that.
It's so
compelling.
Fucking good.
Is it just full on
best game I played in?
grabbing?
Like that's the last game where I played it and I was like, this is too good. I gave it to my girlfriend instantly and was like, you're buying a PS4, you're playing this. She loved it.
One thing I think is really good about like is it indie games they call them?
Yeah.
They're not made by
yeah.
Is that like there seems to be like lots of indie games where it's almost like you're deliberately not given a weapon, but it's almost like to create this more sense of like being on edge,
helplessness,
and fear. So like in games, often like even say like big franchises like Resident Evil and things like that, it's like they're scary, but there's always like
you can.
Yeah, I don't. That's not. It's gonna be hard, and it's still gonna be sketchy when there's like loads of weird monsters and zombies running after you.
You can still protect yourself.
You've got like shotguns and stuff. So there's an element of like there's like a predator-prey relationship. But if you're strong-willed enough, you can feel like the predator, not the prey, right? Whereas with these indie games, it's like almost like regardless, you have to be the prey.
So with this game, like you choose all the dialogue.
Yeah.
Right. Obviously, it's like the book,
like Witcher.
but you choose all the dialogue, and depending on what you choose, opens up new options, opens up new.
So the ending could be different depending.
There's
on
like 5 different endings.
Oh mate, that's so good.
So good.
It's like Witcher 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
So incredible. And
you are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. I'm your host, as always, Obadiah Pennywhistle. Today with me in the studio we have Cup. And Armstrong.
Sounds like a transformer.
Very robotic. So we're carrying on talking about this, the tale of the Kentucky Goblins. Right, so we're on this second story now. So, just to recap, the guy's now on his own in the house. His kid and his missus have gone to live away. So this guy, let's imagine it from the perspective of the guy that's receiving the emails, because that's the only way we really can. So this guy is sending back emails to the guy, and corresponding with him, and he's now waiting for more information essentially from the guy. So he doesn't hear anything for a while. When he finally does get another email from him, he hears that the guy explains in his email that he managed to follow footprints one day, right, to an abandoned mine shaft in a couple of miles from his house.
Okay.
So apparently he said like he didn't feel comfortable going in it on his own, because obviously it's like a sketchy situation. Yeah. But I think he wasn't like a super gunny guy, so I think he said that he purchased a rifle after these sort of experiences had happened, so he didn't have a rifle beforehand. So he obviously wasn't like had a background as like a hunter or anything like that. But anyway, so this guy then apparently once the guy sent an email back to him and said, okay, like keep me up to date, he didn't hear anything from him for ages, and even though it was like really frustrating, the guy wanted to remain anonymous as well. So the guy, so I don't think it's like he couldn't contact the guy directly, really, other than just trying to send him emails and hope that he would reply.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy suddenly went quiet for like months, and even though the paranormal investigator, was like really eager to like keep up on the case, obviously naturally as the months went by, his attention just dwindled. Anyway, he started working on other stuff, and he just so happened to be taken out on this by these other people and apparently this other paranormal expert, and to go visit this sort of cave system. He didn't really think much of it at the time, but it also was an old abandoned mine, right? So anyway, he was searching this mine, this old abandoned mine, but apparently it was like a mine built into an old cave.
Okay,
so it was like a cave a long time before it was excavated to use as a mine. And at the end of this mine, apparently there was like what looked like a massive boulder, and it looks like a little bit off and a little bit strange in terms of like it didn't look like it was like naturally there.
Right.
It looked like it had been like placed there, but it was like this massive circular boulder which looked like it would have been like tons and tons and tons of just solid rock. Like how would you like put it in there with like how would you like place it there without some sort of mechanism or heavy machinery to like move it in and out of place? And nobody had ever been able to move it, so nobody knew what it was behind it and how much longer the cave system went on for. But then the guy suddenly got like a eureka moment.
Is this the cave?
When he said that the guy that he was with said that there was old like tales and folklores of like little creatures that lived in the area that would retreat into the cave and that were behind the boulder, and that they would retreat there behind the boulder, and that nobody's ever been able to move it, so they don't know what's behind it.
Okay.
But there's old tales that this is what happened. And when he said it, he was like, this sounds like the tale of the guy from Mineshaft, and he knew. Apparently it wasn't in Kentucky, so it wasn't like the same one.
Yeah.
But then he had a eureka moment. Now, to finish off the story, so we never heard like of the guy that sent him the emails originally before again.
Okay.
But he received one night a really strange email from an anonymous source saying something like, "You gave up when you were so close." And then there was just a set of coordinates, right? There was just a set of coordinates, and the guy didn't really know what to make of it. And he looked at the coordinates on the internet, and it was like a mine shaft in Kentucky. And he visited it, and he like went into the mine, and it was like really similar to the other one that he went in. And then he went to the end, and then there was like he found like this like big boulder, very very similar. But that's just where like the story ends. So he never heard from the guy again. Doesn't know what happened to him or his family. And that's just like the end of the story. But he got this weird. How weird is it that almost like freaky weird?
That's like a creepypasta. I like that.
That's like a creepy.
That's a real cool end to the story.
Just the fact that he got an anonymous email and it just said like, "You gave up, but you came so close," and then just coordinates, and it's almost like creepy. It was almost like saying like you should have used more initiative and like
it's like taunting him, isn't it?
Tried to find the guy.
Yeah.
Like, you should have found him, because if you found him, you would have like managed to help him sort it out. And then it's just like, but now it's just lost to the ages. And that's it. But like, I just thought that was such a cool story.
They should have got Ross Curry on the case for tracking his email down to the IP address.
Oh, right, yeah. Let's see. Oh, hey man. Yeah, no worries. We'll find out. No worries. So Ross works here, doesn't he? So that's what we're on about. Ross
He's a computer wizard.
He's a computer wizard. Yeah, good old Rossi boy.
But yeah, that's a real cool story.
Yeah,
I like the way you could interpret the story, the ending of the story, to be like different ways.
Yeah,
you could almost interpret it as that's like the goblin like finally responding, or that the goblin was the one in contact the whole time. Trying to like give him hints to go.
I didn't even like think of it like that. I didn't even think, but that's creepy. See, I didn't even think about it. That I just sort of like more thought of the mystery of like what the hell happened to like the original guy.
Yeah. I really don't like not knowing.
Yeah, and you just never heard from him again. And the fact that he just got like a weird email address, I think that he might have.
So cryptic, isn't it?
I think he even said that like it was like an untraceable IP address or something like that.
Right. So close, but no cigar.
And it's literally just like, you should have carried on. You were so close, and then literally just like coordinates, and then just nothing else. Like, nobody, and then just like
that one gave me chills.
Never,
when you said that, when you said that little message, that gave me chills.
Yeah, that's
good.
Cool, isn't it? Man, crazy story. I love stories like that. So, Drew, do you feel
Yeah, how are you getting on with the aliens?
Yeah, how are you feeling in your relationship with aliens right now?
I still think they're cheeky little monkeys. Those ones, yeah. Still,
you don't know how you feel about the Kentucky Goblins.
If those Kentucky Sorry,
what?
Those Kentucky Goblins were are the same ones from that other story, then they deserve to get bulldozed with that rock.
Bulldoze, mate. Explosives.
Yeah, they've lost my respect. Just
fill it in with like dynamite, TNT, and just blow it. Blow the joint.
Yeah, I like the idea of like, higher consciousness beings coming down from the earth and showing us free energy and stuff, but I'm not sure about those little Kentucky Goblins.
I think you just described Elon Musk. Giving us free energy.
Tesla.
Higher beings coming down and giving us free energy.
Yeah, well, I don't like that could be real as well. That he's definitely not normal, is he?
No.
Little alien man.
Little alien man.
Little alien man.
I always think it's like so random that he was like married to Grimes.
Yeah.
Because they just seem like in a way it sort of makes sense, but they almost seem like a really strange couple in terms of like I imagine them like sitting down for dinner, and I think like what would
they talk about?
What would that be like?
Yeah,
because they're both such strange people, but so interesting, and I can imagine that's probably like the fact that they're both so weird probably is one of the things that they found attractive about each other, and almost like felt comfort in each other because they knew that they were both so odd. Yeah. It's almost like how many people know what it's like to be that odd and to almost like to be treated that odd as well. So it's like I can imagine they found comfort in each other. But yeah, still, I just imagine it's like such a strange dynamic, just them both at home, just chilling. Like, yeah, it's just like. Apparently, one thing I heard about Elon Musk, which made me love him even more, is apparently the main music he listens to is sea shanties.
What?
He loves sea shanties.
Loves a good sea shanty. Who doesn't?
Apparently, he's almost like he loves vocal harmonies, and because sea shanties are almost like the pinnacle of that in terms of like, obviously it's almost just like a
camaraderie.
Not necessarily quartet, because obviously that means it has to be 4 people, but it's just like multiple
oh yeah, awesome
like
harmonies,
voices just all doing their own thing, and he apparently he just like loves that. So while he's working and when he's just doing stuff, he's often listening to like old naval sea shanties from like 200 years ago.
That's quite cool.
It is crazy, like the human voice compared to any other instrument, I think is the most impressive. Like I can see like someone play an instrument and really think that's awesome and really, but the way that you can relate to an absolutely beautiful
right, let's do something. So I'm going to start low.
Okay.
You go higher and I'll go higher, and we'll just see how okay. See, even that was fun, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and it was powerful.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
fun and powerful.
I do think like the most powerful instrument of the human race is the human voice.
Yeah, and I love how you can just do that. It doesn't even need to be like anything intricate. Like you don't need to start going on some crazy, do you know what I mean? Like necessarily singing a song. It said like what we just did then. Just start off with just like a low, or obviously you could go from high to low, whatever. But however you wanted. But you can just, as a really easy way of doing it, just hold a note low and just keep get your friends to do it a bit higher and just in harmony, and then just keep shifting it up.
There's really this sense of like connection it creates as well with like humans, like when you sing together, like even like when you think of that like round a campfire kind of thing.
It's so powerful,
like,
isn't it?
Yeah, I always sing it. I remember in college when we were in choir, like we were doing music in college, and you had to be a part of the choir. That was like one of the things of being in the music course.
That's cool.
So like we went down to like St Mary's Church and like performed, and it was all these harmonies. And I remember just being in the church and how powerful it felt because the reverb of the whole
acoustics
church.
of the place.
Yeah, that's it, man. And it was like so cool.
So powerful, isn't it? Like like a choir in like a church or something like that, or like a cathedral or everything. Just like makes it epic as hell.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Mediaeval Baebes concert. That's coming up. That's gonna be so good.
Me and old Armstrong over here on the 17th of December are going to go watch the Mediaeval Baebes. It's their 25th anniversary of them, like being a band. And to be fair to them, like
they're still babes.
They are still babes. To be fair, there's only 2 of the original members. But if you look at the 2 original members, they are still babes. They still look exactly the same as they did when we were like 6. You know what I mean? Because they would have came out when I was 6 years old.
The power of the voice, the power of the beautiful voice.
Yeah, just like, because we saw them once before, didn't we? Or like, it wasn't actually technically all of the Medieval Babes. It was Catherine Blake who was like the one that actually founded them. So one of the original Medieval Baebes, and it was like and then it was another one of the Medieval Baebes, and then somebody else, wasn't it? Whereas
and there was lots of different instrumentalists that came up and played with them and stuff like that as well.
So really I think it's going to be like that this time in terms of the different instrumentalists, but this time it's going to be like all of them. I think like 10. I can't remember how many of them are. It's there's like 10 of them or something. Yeah. So there's going to be like loads of awesome female vocal harmonies going on in that church.
In a church.
We can just sit down and have some booze. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, it's going to be a good time. Also, super Christmassy.
You know,
yeah,
that would get in the
yeah, man, definitely.
Certainly.
Go to the George and have a couple of drinkies as well, maybe.
Crabbies mixed with some mead.
Oh yeah, and they have the best mead as well. They have Lancashire mead, which is my favourite mead. Love the Lancashire mead. So good. I definitely think that's the best. For any of you,
I normally have a bit of Freya's.
Do you have Freya's? Yeah, that's the Lancashire one, though, isn't it?
Is it? Oh, cool. Yeah.
So my favourite ones are. It's like Odin's mead is like it's quite like a hoppy one, which almost gives it almost like a bit of an ale taste. So it's almost like it tastes a bit like ale mead. Obviously, I love ale and I love mead, so it almost makes sense. Yeah, so that's probably my favourite one.
I've been having mulled cider recently, and that gets you in the mood for Christmas.
Mulled cider's nice.
I had a nice mulled cider. It was like a brother's toffee apple one.
I'm not so fan on like sweet booze
mixed with the like spices and everything. It just tasted real nice.
Is it?
I brought some mulled wine from Sainsbury's the other day that I'm going to heat up.
I have to say I prefer mulled cider.
Yeah, me
personally.
Too, actually,
personally. I like the appley flavours.
Made fresh with all the spices. Oh yes,
darling.
Must be Christmas.
And let's listen to another track now. This is Pitfalls in Serving Warrants by Melvins. Enjoy. Try not to get abducted within the next 3 minutes. Do you reckon aliens would like the Melvins? Do you reckon aliens would like that song?
Hell yeah.
Yeah?
Hear all those cymbals? Just the creativity in that. I think they'd be like, whoa, these guys got something going on.
If aliens like do visit Earth, I wonder what they think. I wonder if they like listen to our music and what they think of it.
I think that would be one of the most transferable things beyond dimensions
because it's
that
like
we could
feeling.
Do as a human race. Because it's pure expression of creativity, you know.
And it's all based on how it makes you feel.
And think we've got all these languages. It makes it how we feel, and we've got all of these languages that all over the whole world. But literally, music is like the only universal language that everyone can understand.
It's so diverse as well. It's like if I think about, because I like such a wide variety of music. Like if I think about what it's like when I listen to say like Blackened from Metallica, when that first riff kicks in, it's like like I'm just instantly just like can't help but just be like like feel like so excited. But then if you listen to something like Baker Street by Jerry Rafferty, you know. It's just like, oh mate, like it's just like.
What music do you reckon? If they had a genre, what do you reckon it would be? I reckon they'd listen to hyperpop.
Do you reckon? Give me an example of hyperpop.
Dua Lipa.
Give me an example of hyperpop, young man.
Is that Dua Lipa?
Like I don't know, Charlie XCX, 100 Gex, that kind of thing.
Don't even know who any of these people are. Mate, I'm like a granddad compared to you, young Bullwinkle.
Just very chaotic, very chaotic.
Very crazy chaotic.
Yeah,
I can imagine they quite like Grimes as well. Like a bit like Elon Musk, he likes Grimes, so the aliens would as well. I can imagine them like just chilling to like some of her crazy tracks.
Elon, their spokesperson.
Yeah. He's like who they would like, who they would like go through. He'd be like the mediator between Earthlings and.
On the theme of aliens, I've got a question for you.
Oh, hit me.
So, originally this wasn't my question, but I thought, to alter it to fit the podcast, we'd go down the alien route. Right? So you got two options. Okay? You can either receive one message from yourself in 15 years.
Oh.
Okay, so 15 years you in the future.
Oh,
they just send you a message, that kind of thing.
Almost like freaks me out a bit.
Or you can receive you get one interaction with an alien, however no one believes you.
That freaks me out a bit as well.
They both freak me out.
They both freak me out. I don't know even if I want either of them. Do I have to pick
You have to have one. You have to have one.
Interact with an alien or a message from myself 15 years in the future?
Imagine if the message was bad. It's like, don't do, and then it just like ends. But it could be something good. It could be like, bet on this horse in this year.
Just keep going, laddie. You're doing all good.
I'd be annoyed if they said that.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was like something really cryptic and almost like ominous and like creepy.
You're constantly thinking of.
They're just like, don't turn your back on Nathaniel.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Or just like, You the man.
Imagine if it was like something weird and creepy like that. Though. That'd be like mental, wouldn't it?
I don't think you get to see what it looks like either. Like, I don't think you see yourself. I think you just like get that message.
How long is the message?
Like it almost. I can imagine it. The way you described it.
I'd want it to be at least a minute long.
I think you don't get to. I think it's just a thing where like.
Whatever
we don't know how long it's going to be.
Do you know what I like to imagine? Do you know how I'd like to imagine that you get it?
Go on.
I like to imagine that it's like set up that so it's like tomorrow morning when you wake up there will be a letter through your letterbox.
Yeah, I like that.
And it will just be addressed to you, and it will literally the message inside won't say like from anybody or anything like that, but you'll know it's from you in the 15 seconds.
Oh yeah,
and it
I like
literally
this,
will just be like one sentence or one paragraph, and that's it. And then boom, that's it.
I quite like the idea of it being more of like a telepathic, so you hear their voice, and that's more powerful.
Oh, you hear
like
yourself,
you hear your own voice.
How would you
speaking
differentiate between that and your own inner monologue?
I think you just know. Like
it's like that sense of knowing from the letter.
It's a bad answer, but you just know. Yeah.
I think I would question whether I got it muddled up because there's so much thoughts going on already.
Yeah.
And it's obviously in sort of my voice.
In this hypothetical, you don't. In this hypothetical, you 100% know. You don't question it. You know that's you.
You can't question it.
Yeah.
I think I would have to go for the message from myself. I think that there's too many unknowns and like crazy things that could happen with the message from an alien. And to be honest, I don't know if
what if the message from the alien could be them like, oh, you know, this is like how I look on life. This is what you should be doing. This kind of thing.
Thing is, though,
you don't know what it's going to be.
If it was just me and nobody else knew, then nobody
would believe.
Like, I think some of my closest friends would, and some of my family members would. But outside of that, nobody would believe me anyway. So it'd be pointless. There's nothing.
But what if that's just knowledge that is good for you? What if that's knowledge where you can change your life to better your life?
Yeah, but it also might be something really terrible.
Could be. But so what if
we're going to kill everyone in 5 years? On June the 6th.
Good luck.
What if your message from yourself in 15 years is you dying too?
It could be like, we've been monitoring this race for the last 10,000 years. We've come to the conclusion that you all need to be wiped out. It's going to happen on like June the 6th.
I think you just go
2026.
I think you would just go, I wish I chose the other option.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do
I
at
don't
that
know.
point.
It's a good question. It's a good question. What do you reckon you would do, man?
Oh, I know what I'd do.
Alien.
No, so I would get the message from myself.
Okay.
Because I already speak to aliens.
Oh, there you go.
I would hope that my message would be some way of like, bet on this at this time, and you'll.
Yeah, that's what I would hope like, that I wasn't trying to be overly philosophical and I'd just given myself something really jammy.
Yeah, if I got like a message and it was just, you're doing fine, I'd be like, oh, you idiot.
There's like
how's that help me?
There's like a freaking like 90-1 bet on this the Saturday coming. Put every single bit of money you have into it.
Yeah.
And I'd just be like, yeah, boy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I suppose it's how much you trust yourself that you will give yourself the message that you need. Do you know what I mean? Or whether you just...
If you had to send the message, what would you say?
What, so if I was me in 15 years and then I found out that
would you find it funny to be like
had picked this?
Would you almost find it funny to say something real cryptic?
Yeah, you prank yourself now. I'd give myself words of encouragement.
That would be a very me thing to do, I feel. And I feel like the old school me would almost be like, that's scallywag. And then but almost like respect me for it.
I'd be like, this is the message I've been waiting for. Thank you, future me.
Drew would be like crying and playing with himself 2 minutes afterwards. While still crying. He'd be just there like, yeah.
I do like the idea of saying something real cryptic that you just can't understand, like the bee flies to the west, and then
the bee flies northwards from the horse's paddock.
Yeah. Imagine that's the message you receive. What?
Yeah.
What? I think I'd go for the message from myself personally.
Yeah, I think I would as well.
I think we've all done that. I think we've all gone for the message from ourselves.
All agreed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All agreed.
Definitely.
Poor aliens.
Right. 3, 2, 1. No, I didn't get it. I didn't get one.
You were hoping to
get the message from myself there.
Imagine if you suddenly looked really confused and you did.
Imagine you
that's what I was thinking. There's like a 1 in a million chance that I might actually get a message from myself right now, but it didn't really happen. So
that would have been the craziest thing to capture on camera. Imagine you just blacked out.
It was worth a try.
Yeah, definitely. Sure.
I think I might have asked you guys before, but did you guys ever see like the Louis Theroux documentary where he explores aliens and stuff like that?
I've seen
that guy with like the thinks he can talk to aliens in the corner, and he's like,
yeah.
That would suddenly be like Drew.
Yeah.
That's Theroux's future, I reckon. that
guy.
You're doing okay, man.
That's where we're all headed.
Yeah,
we're just gonna end up in Nevada, just going. Oh, I saw the Kentucky alien once.
I am from the Torrid Galaxy.
Oh, I can't wait, man. That sounds cool.
Yeah, nice. On the whole, nice weather, even if you are living in a desert. You know.
I think you get fed up.
Yeah, mate.
Fed up of the weather. I get frustrated by the weather sometimes. If I put the radiator on in my room, right,
and it gets too hot,
and it gets too hot,
for God's sake!
I'll just be like, oh man,
mate,
you ruined the night for you then.
Open the window now.
Yeah, and then it's too cold, and then it's like, you haven't found the balance. You've ruined the night. There's no sleep. It's done.
Yeah, you have to monitor that temp, don't you? Monitor
creating
that
the perfect temperature.
Do you know what amazes me? Right, because I live in like a really old cottage, and there's no central heating.
Okay.
Right, so I have like a big like log burner.
Arga.
I have an Arga in my kitchen. I have a log burner in my living room, and obviously if I need to warm any other rooms, I have to just do it by an electric heater or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's amazing how much more heat is generated from an actual fire than from like heating.
Yeah,
like like a heater
from just a proper log burner.
When I get the log burner properly going in the winter. And it's been on for like a couple of hours, I can get it like so hot that it heats like the whole house. And it's not just that, obviously, because the chimney runs up the side of the house, and the chimney gets hot, so it like heats up the walls, and the walls become like really warm. Everything, so it like heats our bedroom. It's almost like we've got like a massive thermal wall.
Yeah.
And we didn't even like plan to do it like this, but our bed's like up against the wall, like so by the head, so it's like it's just very warm and stuff.
Nice.
It does always like boggle my mind. In a way, it seems like an overly simplistic thing to say, but it is just like crazy how much like
brick.
It could be like -2 outside, and because the fire's on so much, I can be like just chilling in like just like shorts and a t-shirt, and like actually like end up quite hot. Like, if anything,
Fire's
too hot.
raging.
Fire's burning.
I've got in my room. I've got like my TV up on the wall. And everything, and I try and stay out of my room as much as I can, or out of my bed.
Yeah.
Because I know if I stay in my bed for too long, I won't get comfortable. So I'll try and like, I quite like the feeling of my room being real cold, because I think my room's the only room in the house that doesn't have a radiator. So I've got like a plug-in one.
Yeah.
So I'll never turn it on unless I need to. So when I go to bed, it's like freezing cold, but I almost have to get past that bit of like, all right, I'm cold, I'm going to snuggle up, and then I'm eventually going to be fine to sleep. I think that's got a nice little experience.
No, I do know what you mean. It definitely does.
Let's go with that.
I definitely
it's
sort of
just nice to get
you ready for bed, baby.
Yeah.
Nice and snuggly.
I'd rather be like cold and get hot than be way too
nice
hot.
Nice little insight into the life there. Of cup.
Very, very interesting.
Young cup in his bed.
Yeah. Getting nice and snug and cuddly. I got a quick question for you guys. We're going to wrap up the show on this one. On like a funny little question.
Go on.
Right. You both obviously have misses the same as me. Are you guys cuddly sleepers or uncuddly sleepers?
Uncuddly.
Are you? Are you all about the cuddle?
Her hair annoys me.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you wish that she was just bald?
Yeah, I said that. Shave it off. It's too long.
Do a Sinead O'Connor.
It's too itchy. I don't like it.
So you're a fan of a snuggly sleep?
No, he said not.
No.
He said
you're
no.
not?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not? Oh, sorry. I thought you said that you did like it, but her hair annoys you.
No.
Oh, so you don't like it too?
No. I like being faced the opposite way, having my space.
Mate, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll have a cuddle before, but once it's like, you get to the point and it's like, right,
I'm gonna sleep.
It's not like snug. It's not like bedtime anymore. Now it's like sleep time.
Yeah.
And then it's like, stay away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't mind if you want to like tickle my foot with yours a little bit, But other than that, give him a space. I bet you're a cuddly sleeper, aren't you?
Well, actually, no. Like,
you know?
it's a start with a cuddle and then do your own thing.
That's right.
But I do really like. I almost wish I could. Like, I do like having a cuddle.
Right.
So, but it just gets too hot and that. And, like,
Yeah, that's
bed,
what I feel. I feel like it's almost like a bit.
But
like
I do. But
uncomfortable.
sometimes we've done it like, and it's literally like I will fall asleep, and I do really enjoy that.
Yeah, I have done it a couple times.
I
think everyone does it a couple times accidentally. No, mate.
No.
I find it real frustrating, and my girlfriend knows this. I'll find it frustrating if, like, I'll be sleeping. I think we'll face opposite ways, and we've got our own space. You get more space that way.
Yeah.
But if she'll just turn around and be like facing my way, I'll be like, oh man, Turn the other way. I need my space.
Really?
Obviously, I wouldn't say that.
Extreme.
Like
Yeah.
you can if
Well,
you
she
want to
knows-
sleep.
She
you
knows
can sleep.
you think it now.
She knows I think it, but
You just kick her
she
out
can
of the bed
do what she
instead.
wants at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
Yeah. Right.
Well,
Well, we're going to leave it on that note.
there we go.
So that
Another
was
episode
that was
done.
another episode of Pandora's Box. Cheers for tuning in. Join us next week for some more shenanigans. Thank you, Cup, for joining me again this
Thank
week.
you for having me.
And thank you, Armstrong.
Thank you, sir.
If you're listening on the radio, this is also a podcast on YouTube. So if you want to check out our visages as well as hearing us orally, that's orally with an AU, not an OR, you saucy monkeys, then go on YouTube, type in Pandora's Box Podcast and check us out. Cheers, guys. Next week, we shall see you again.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.